Donington Park in Derbyshire was Britain's first road racing circuit, joining the banked track at Brooklands as a mecca for enthusiasts in the 30s. It staged 4 Grand Prix and attracted the cream of the continental teams. Now, with the circuit revived by Tom Wheatcroft, the Grand Prix circus returns this weekend, and Donington hopes to recapture some of the glory of the pre-war days. Well, the spectators turned up in classic British sports cars like this MGTA. The stars of the day, like Caracciola, Rosmare and Nuvolari, lined up on the grid in mighty machines from Germany, like this Mercedes and the auto unions that won the event in 1937 and 38. Now, some 55 years later, when the Grand Prix returns, the stars of today will find that things have changed. This dusty, windswept part of Donington Park now lies outside the circuit, but it's the exact spot where the last Grand Prix started back in 1938. Sited between the spectator grandstands and the pits, the track led to the left-hand corner at Redgate. Nowadays, a concrete wall and a Rolls-Royce factory block the way, but the actual corner is just about where the paddock gate now stands. From there, the track ran parallel to the new paddock wall towards the Redgate Lodge, where there used to be a low pedestrian bridge. Now the same lodge is part of a restaurant and the gates are blue. This is that lodge that used to be home to one of the keepers on the Donington Park estate. It now forms a landmark on the outside of the new Redgate corner, the first corner on the new Grand Prix circuit. After Redgate, the track rejoins the old circuit for the daunting plunge down the Craner curves to the old hairpin. The curves are named after Fred Craner, who is prominent among the memories of the grandson of the then owner of Donington Park, John Gillies Shields, as an instigator in the first races.
He persuaded my grandfather to have a circuit here for motorcycles. And they had, I think, the first meeting in 1931, and it was very successful.
Later, a youthful John Shields met all the stars of the day.
I was driven round by Beera and people like that. Nuvolari was a marvellous chap, and he killed one of our stags here, one of the red deer, going at about 80 miles an hour, I think, once, and he took the trophy back to Italy, and he always said it was his finest memory of Donington. The Italians were pretty excitable, but great fun. The Germans were frightfully German in that they used to play the German national anthem, you know, when they won and so forth. And every night down at the hall, when they were staying there, they used to listen to the radio and do a bit of high Hitling, you know, at night, which my grandfather didn't approve of. The English chaps, as I say, were Corinthians. They were fine chaps. It's unlike some of the ones today. You never heard them whinging or moaning or anything like that, and they didn't waste champagne like they do.
From the Redgate Lodge, the old circuit very much followed the line of the new one, down through the Craner curves to the old hairpin. It never was a hairpin for the cars, but in the old days, it used to come right up here before they turned right, and then went under Starkey's Bridge. The new circuit bypasses it to the right, under a structure much less elegant than the old one. They must have been mad. From Starkey's Bridge, the old and new circuits follow a similar line, round McLean's and up to Coppice Corner, through dense woodland that's long since disappeared in the cause of safety and good spectator viewing. The modern circuit turns right earlier, but in the 30s the track led right through the Coppice farmyard, with the farmhouse right on target if you got it wrong.
I think the Germans thought it was a bit primitive, really, and there was a lot of loose gravel about in parts and so forth. It wasn't very safe. We are told, I mean, I can't remember this, but I remember one of the gamekeepers saying he'd found 2 or 3 bodies lying in the wood in all hooks several days after the race meeting. I think probably one of the cars had skidded into them or something and nobody knew about them, and the leaves had blown over them or something, but we heard funny tales like that.
After Coppice, the drivers could afford themselves a bit of a breather on the long blast down the straight to the Melbourne hairpin. The old track followed the line of the modern service road to complete a circuit 3 miles long, which Rosemeyer lapped at a race average of just under 83 miles an hour to win in 1937. The new Grand Prix circuit is half a mile shorter, and the lap record stands to Derek Warwick in a Peugeot Group C sports car at just over 114 miles an hour. Now, while the new Donington Park circuit awaits the return of the Grand Prix stars, this week also sees the anniversary of one of motor racing's darkest days. 25 years ago, on the 7th of April 1968, Jim Clark was killed.